Two men and two women here. And we will be talking about the most loved and most contested subject, which is the history. I was a bad student of history. I think a lot of us will also agree with the fact that history is history is how it engages us. If you have a good teacher who taught you history, you would be fascinated. If the teacher didn't like when they taught you history, you would still think, what's the big deal? Here, on this stage, what's fascinating is we have three cities. It's not for individuals, but I mean, except for me, I will be invisible. Three cities, one is Bangalore through Lalbagh, that is written and self-published by Suresh Jayaram. Moupia has written a wonderful, intriguing book through the narrative of Bhagmati, a Hindu Devdasi woman living in Hyderabad, who lived in Hyderabad, who was conveniently erased through the pages of history. Queen of the Sultan, who was conveniently erased in eventuality. And then we have our own R.J. Singh, Gyani, as he is fondly known. A lot of Mysoreans know him. He preserves Mysore in a way that that engages us, that makes us feel prouder, and also leaves it for a lot of younger generation to be fascinated by. So I would like to start with Moupia on Bhagmati. You called the book title itself is Bhagmati, and it's a story that goes through the streets of Hyderabad of those days. Why did you choose to write it? And what were the challenges that you wrote? Because I see a lot of historical documentation that you have done through the book. In your semi-fiction narrative, how did you access them? What were the challenges?
Thank you, Preethi. Is my mic? That's okay now? Yeah. So thank you, Mysuru Literature Festival, for inviting me and giving me this privilege to interact with all of you. It's a beautiful city. My book is Bhagmati, the lost queen, who is the soul of the city. I lived in Hyderabad for 2 years. I came from Delhi, and when I reached Hyderabad, I was absolutely fascinated by not only the city, but the ethos and the spirit of the city. It was a very warm and welcoming city, and the thing that really struck me was the camaraderie and the unity and the friendship between the two dominant communities of Hyderabad, that is the Muslim community and the Hindu community. And the interesting part was that nobody in Hyderabad who I came across called himself a Muslim or a Hindu, and they called themselves a Hyderabadi, which was what was really the factor which sort of compelled me to write this story about Bhagmati. Now here was another thing. When I went around the city, everywhere I heard the name Bhagmati. But there was no evidence of her, any physical evidence, any inscriptions, any coins, any mention in her alleged lover and subsequently her husband, who was the Sultan of Hyderabad, Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah. What also intrigued me was that despite her not being around, she was all over the city. Everybody knew about her. The city was, reportedly built because of Bhagmati and was originally called Bhagnagar. So this time round, when I decided that, this is a real mystery, that here is a woman. There are no paintings of her. She's not mentioned in the dynastic, reports or the records. She's nowhere to be mentioned. And her husband and the so-called reigning Sultan at the time was Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, who was a poet himself. In none of his verses there is any mention of Bhagmati. But How come she's all over, and how come an entire city was created for her? What kind of love was this? What kind of, passion was this? That a medieval Muslim sultan brought home a dancer, a Hindu dancer, who was not only his only queen, but the mother of his only child, who was also a daughter. So, I mean, there must be something there in that love story that, a king did not have a male heir. He had only one daughter. Despite that, he had no other wife. There is no mention of any other queen. Now, this has sparked off a debate over the existence of Bhagmati over the last 4 centuries, and the debate is still raging to the extent that the current government has decided to rename the city of central government, if they come to power in Telangana, they will call the city Bhagnagar or Bhagyanagar, which means the city of fortune. So this sort of, made me wonder that I must investigate, I must find out the origin of the story, origin of Bhagmati. Was it, why was her name erased? Was it because she was a Hindu? No. That I found out clearly because Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, the 5th Sultan of the Qutub Shahi dynasty, his mother was also a Hindu. Her name was Bhagirathi. And she was a Vijayanagar princess. So she's in the records. His daughter is there in the records, Hayat Bakshi Begum. But his queen is not there. He married a Persian girl in the initial years of his, kingship, who he summarily, her father, the girl's father, was his prime minister that time, and he dismissed the two of them within 1 year of his marriage because of some failed battle which his prime minister had forced him to, take on. The Qutub Shahis were a very interesting dynasty because they never wanted to fight. They were not interested in conquests. They were not interested in wars and battles. All they wanted to do was enjoy life, have their wine and women, and write poetry. And despite that, there was the city established and built by Muhammad Quli, who unfortunately died at the age of 46 or 47. Naturally, if you indulge yourself so much in these vices, you will. But he left behind a legacy of poetry. Again, the poetry, I can just go on, but we have some wonderful panelists with me. His poetry has been termed not so great by the great poets, even his own time poets. That is another thing of Muhammad Quli. He never insisted on he never claimed to be a great poet, nor did he insist on his court poets to consider him in the list of great poets. His poetry borders more on the sensual, more on the, the physical aspect of love, and not the divine aspect of love. This is another, episode of
Moupia,
debate.
this is a very, very attractive conjuncture at which you
so
are
I will leave
bringing
it at that
the whole
right
book
now,
at. Yeah.
because Muhammad Quli did build Hyderabad for Bhagmati. The only thing I want to add here is that despite her not being mentioned anywhere, all contemporary travelers and record keepers of the time mentions her. They all mention her. So why did she disappear? So this is what the book is all about. This
Wonderful,
is what the book,
wonderful.
This debate that has been going on, she's there in the cultural representations. Even today, there are plays on the love story and everything.
Moupia, I'll have to interrupt for a bit and also give you a bit of news that while Bhagyanagar was lost in Hyderabad, we've regained Bhagyanagar in some way in Karnataka. For the uninitiated, Bhagyapalli has been renamed as Bhagyanagar, whether we agree or not. So somehow I think we seem to have claimed some other part of history here. This happened just about 3-4 days ago. So Suresh, I come to you. You see Bangalore, your book, self-published book, I emphasize again, is about Lalbagh. Your first book was #1 Shanti Road Cookery book. Is that right?
Yes.
And Lalbagh, when you wrote about Lalbagh, now this session, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, and them, is going to be an amazing session because we also have wonderful pictures, priceless pictures, timeless pictures that will be shown here. That's why we sit like this, not because we have differences of opinion, because we want you to have the best of this session. So here, Suresh, Bangalore's Lalbagh, a chronicle of the garden and the city. Now, this is interesting. Lalbagh is a garden in Bangalore city. And you talk about garden and the city being two, as if it appears to me as if you are looking at them as two units. Now, as an artist and a cultural historian, you look at Lalbagh, and Bangalore gets a lot of brickbats, isn't it? But yet that city breathes and creates. I would like to engage you on this question of how do you see it?
Thank you. Most importantly and very, very shortly, this is a love letter to Bangalore and Lalbagh.
See? Yeah, love, yes.
And just to get back to you about how this book was written and published, it was a COVID baby, and I kind of wrote it in about 2 or 3 years, but really put it together when COVID struck. And when it happened, there are friends who came together and got in touch. Not that I didn't knew publishers, I did ask a few people around, but it so happened nobody wanted to print a book with so many pictures.
Yes,
And
they're
they didn't want to
amazing
hire
pictures,
a designer or and invest in all this. But the story of this book also is the story of how our archives behave. They don't give you access unless you do a PhD. And at the same time, Lalbagh Archive and Library was very strict in trying to give me access. So I had to use other means to get into the Lalbagh Archive through the back door and try and collect information. So the information collected is like a curator or a scavenger who's collecting information from photo albums, from libraries, from archives, and many records that don't exist. As we all know, next slide please. As we all know, this is how Lalbagh looks. It's only the center of this very congested area, the heart of the city, as you can say. It's also called the lung of the city, Cubbon Park being another. So very, very strangely, the people who really made Lalbagh, which was a very small part of the existing Lalbagh you see, was Hyder and Tipu Sultan, whose names are forgotten. Next slide. So this is the first instance of a landscape painted by James Hunter, who envisioned Lalbagh like this. And the Lalbagh is not everything else except that walled garden with cypress trees. And these soldiers walking down. So the Lalbagh you see now is 4 or 5 times bigger. So you had to imagine a Lalbagh which was a char bagh actually. Like the ones you see, or even Vrindavan Garden was later done by Krumbigal, who we'll come to later, as a char bagh. Next. This is what you see. This is the particular Kempegowda tower, which we all know and of, which is also a symbol of BBMP, is called Tipu's Observatory. It suddenly changed. But later on, we also see reminiscence of the cypress. It was called Cypress Garden, no Lalbagh. But I think yesterday somebody told me that there's a news article which says Kempegowda.
Yes, yeah, I was going to come to that because WhatsApp you can't escape, right? I mean, you may not have education, but you can't escape WhatsApp these days. Yeah. I mean, this is what everybody has been deeply feeling. What is this about Kempu Huvina Tota being called Lalbagh? I ask as an uninformed person.
I cannot compete with the WhatsApp University, but they also want to acknowledge that Kempegowda created Lalbagh, but there are other stories which are more interesting. So we'll go into that next slide. So here is Kempegowda's tower, which is actually a watchtower later on, which was built. And later on, we see that this becomes the insignia of the city. This is in 4 cardinal directions, and it forms the kind of space for Bangalore to evolve. Next. So the gardens, when you start looking at gardens, you realize that Lalbagh is not, Bangalore is not called Garden City because of these 2 gardens, Cubbon Park and Lalbagh, but because of the colonial gardens in the bungalows. And what did the British do? They wanted to imitate everything possible that was back home. So the Malis were the most important people who really made Bangalore very green and colorful. Next. So, do you think this is Lalbagh? Bangalore is also very much known for its beautiful postcards, which are also a source of information for me. So this beautiful postcard is a scene from Lalbagh, and it shows a very important artery in Lalbagh, which is landscape. I'll come to the people who landscape Lalbagh, but we'll also see why it was so significant, because these postcards were sent abroad saying that, oh, this is the beautiful city we live in, by so many Britishers who lived in Bangalore. Next. So here are the two guys who we somehow have forgotten in history, but they were Hyder Ali started it first. And he was very closely associated with the Sufi saint. And the Sufi saint lived very close by and near Lalbagh. And he created the first Char Bagh. And he bought trees and plants from different places from the Indian subcontinent to be planted there. Tipu Sultan followed, but he became very smarter than his father. So he sent ambassadors to different parts of the world, including France, to get different trees and plants that grow there. And one of the things he did was, which we're all very happy about, that he sent ambassadors to China to get silkworms and also mulberry, which actually started the Mysore silk industry, which is acknowledged to him. Next. So, but Kempegowda has its own role as the founder, feudatory of the Vijayanagara kingdom and the maker of lakes, etc. So, the important things of Bangalore is Kote, Pete, Kere and Tota. So, these are the four important things of Bangalore. Without the Kote and the Pete, what Kempegowda made, and also the Tota, which is what we are talking about, there is no Bangalore. Next. Is there where?
Yeah.
19th slide.
Okay. Next. So the Lalbagh is not what it was unless we have the investment of your beautiful city and the people who ruled you. So the Wadiyas are the people who really got the most important gardeners from Kew. So the most important person is G.H. Krumbigel, Gustav Hermann Krumbigel, the German horticulturist who was responsible not only for your Brindavan garden, but also Lalbagh and parts of Cubbon Park. Next.
We have a circle named on Krumbigel.
Krumbigel's.
Right?
We have a road named
Road
Krumbigel.
named on Krumbigel.
Yeah. But again, it was Mirza Ismail's vision to think that parks and gardens are necessary for not only the development and beautification of the city. He thought it's a very democratic way to be part of a landscape where people could enjoy it. He was also responsible for something in Hyderabad, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the most significant thing was he thought gardens are very significant for modernity. And he's one of the modern makers. Next. So here is a painting. I had to kind of go all around Mysore to get this particular painting. It is somewhere in the palace. And thanks to the former king, Mr. Shrikanta Datta Wadiyar, and connections, that we got a photograph of this. This is a very good portrait of G.H. Krumbigel, who was working in Baroda and who was sent to Bangalore. He came to Bangalore because he was part of the idea that he could develop Mysore and Bangalore as a garden city. And one of the things he is acknowledged for was he did something called serial blossoming. Like in Bangalore, you have a series of flowers that bloom consistently every month. And this is thanks to him. So these seeds and flowers traveled from different parts of the world. They came to Bangalore, they were acclimatized over there, and they distributed everywhere. Incidentally, a very fascinating thing is there is a particular road in Mysore where the Dasara procession moves. So he planted a particular Colvelia racemosa, I think a particular plant, and it's called Dasara Gulmohar. And it blooms exactly at that time. So he had such fantastic planning to create this kind of very cosmopolitan Bangalore. So cosmopolitanism is not what we see today. There was a botanical cosmopolitanism that happened earlier. Next. So in the search, the first time I heard about Krumbigal was through my grandmother, who they had a few orchards in Bangalore and they lived very close to Lalbagh. And she told me that she had an apple tree, and I didn't believe her until I saw this. This is from a family friend's archive. This is Javaraya, who is one of the directors of Lalbagh, and these are apple trees that used to grow in Bangalore once upon a time, and this is proof enough to, he's one of the first native directors after Krumbigal to start being part of Lalbagh and Cubbon Park. Next. So this is what you saw of Lalbagh, this vision where they wanted to make a mark on the city they had conquered. The glass house, which was totally imported from Glasgow. Then you have the bandstand, then you have the fountain and these beautiful lawns. And you also have trees all the way from the northern part of Australia, Araucaria cookie, which we commonly call as Christmas trees. They're named after Cookie, the Captain Cook who discovered Australia. As these very, very stark visual things that will lead you to look at the glass house. And if the bandstand was also made very specifically so that we natives get civilized.
Suresh, these images are so breathtaking that we can never tire looking at them. But I think we'll have to take a break here and then start with Arjit Singh, Gyani. Moupia said she was intrigued by Bhagmati and the erasure of Bhagmati's footsteps and footprints. And Suresh said he wrote a love letter to Bangalore through this book. What is the Museum of Mysore through Arjit Singh saying to Mysore? Is this a love letter, tribute, or an attempt to place Mysore above all other cultural cities in India? Proudly so.
The whole idea was that most of the Mysore paintings were confused with their Tanjore counterpart. And in most of the museums...
they're so close in style.
Yes.
Right?
In most of the museums, even today, the labels are wrong. So that is what prompted me to tell the whole world that there is this school, and this is such an important school which has been overlooked. And that is how the idea of the museum germinated in 1987. And today we have this collection of about 700 paintings from the period 1820 onwards, and it's open to public.
And at this point, I must mention, these are Arjit Singh's personal collection through his efforts, personal as a team with friends and family. So it's something that an individual can do to a city that he or she loves the most. You can live there, you can breathe there, and then you can set up a museum. What a beautiful concept that is.
Today we are going to look at something not from the museum that has been established, but we are going to have a peek at some of the important people who made the city what it is today through their beautiful artworks. For a small city like Mysore, it has challenged the bigger metros like Calcutta, Bombay, Lucknow, Chennai, Baroda, and it has produced some of the most outstanding visual artists. And we are going to see a few slides which will give us the story about how Mysore became so famous through its very talented artists. First slide, please. Now, this is the seat of the power and administration, the Ambavilas Palace. And this is where a lot of experiments took place. And we are going to see a very thin slice of the experiments that took place during the reign of the last 4 kings of Mysore. Next slide, please. So this is a very beautiful mid-19th century group portrait of the artists who lived in the palace. Now, this is in the Kuldeep Singh collection at Mumbai, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya. It was gifted by Kuldeep Singh to this particular museum. And this is a group of 5 artists. And when I spoke with Kuldeep Singh for the first time when they saw this painting, I asked him, who are these people? He said, I bought this in an antique shop in Delhi. And the lady who sold it to me told me that these are Maratha Varkaris sitting in bhajan. Because that is what antique dealers do. They build a story and they try to blackmail you to buy the painting. But when we came back home, I was very intrigued because I felt that one of the faces is very familiar. And my colleague Raghu, who is here, identified them through some, very James Bond kind of. So in the next slide, we see that who these artists are. So these are the artists who were identified in that particular group portrait. And thanks to the 22nd Maharaja of Mysore, Krishnaraj Vadayar III, he had albums full of paintings, miniature paintings of all the employees of the palace, including the priests, the soldiers, the important, even the British officers who served in Mysore, their portraits are there. And these are entire albums, imagine. And later on, during the reign of the 24th Maharaja of Mysore, Krishnaraj Vadayar IV, they used photography to document the people. And all of them are labeled. And I want you to carefully look at this person, Gottugar Tippanna. He was a very famous artist. His father, Chitragara Ramappa, was also employed in the palace. And we are going to start a story from this Tippanna, who is the superintendent of the Royal Atelier. And these are the 4 artists who worked under him. Next slide, please. We are just taking a small detour from Tippanna. We have this very famous artist, Durgada Krishnappa. You are all very familiar with the Venkatappa Art Gallery in Bangalore. Krishnappa was the father of Venkatappa. And he was one of the important artists of the Mysore court. In 1895, at the Parliament of Religions, where India was represented, lot of princely states sent religious material for that exhibition at Chicago, and among them, 2 important persons stand out. One is Ravi Verma, who was given a medal, and he represented the royal family of Travancore. And we have Krishnappa, who also won a gold medal. You can see Ravi Verma's portraits with a gold medal hanging. So Krishnappa was also given, and right below, in his own handwriting, Durgada Krishnappa writes, Durgada Krishnappa, gold medal artist. So you must have seen earlier musicians, when they performed, they wore their medals on the chest, and especially the Nadaswaram artists hung their medals on the Nadaswaram. So this is a way that Krishnappa told that he's won a gold medal at the Parliament of Religions Expo. We move on to the next image. This is Krishnappa's son Venkatappa. Now, Venkatappa's claim to fame is that he was commissioned to do the murals at the private Darbar Hall. If you visit the private Darbar Hall today, there is one complete mural and one incomplete mural, and all the spaces are empty. Now, go back to 1940. Krishnaraj Vadayar IV has passed away. The order for the work was given by Krishnaraj Vadayar to Durgada Venkatappa's son Krishnappa. And 1948 August, the new king is sworn in. The work is at a slow pace. He's not able to finish. There are differences of opinion between the 25th Maharaja and Venkatappa. Incidentally, it is Venkatappa who gave the color combination of the Darbar Hall as well as the Kalyana Mantapa of the palace. that unique color combination. There was an open contest, and he wins a prize, princely prize of 500 rupees for giving that color combination. And finally, there is a difference of opinion between the Maharaja and Venkatappa or completing the murals, and he's finally, he's given an order to leave Mysore, Gadi Par, because there was a breakdown of communication between the Maharaja and this very talented artist.
And is that why the panels are incomplete?
Yes.
Yes.
If you go to the palace, the panels are incomplete. Next slide, please. Now, the most important place, which was the crucible where all these artists were born, nurtured, and created into what they were, and what are the magnificent creations they did. And this is the place where they were all trained. Today, the version of this Chamaraja Technical Institute is Kawa. And we move on to the next slide. And one of the important persons in this, you saw the slide of Tippanna. This is Tippanna's grandson, Keshavaya, who has painted in the palace at the Kalyana Mantapa. Next slide, please. Keshavaya's student Sufi was an important, artist of Mysore, a product of Chamaraja Technical Institute, and an alumnus of the JJ School of Art. And next slide, please. Sufi student Kamlesh, a long-time resident of Bangalore, very famous for his line drawings. Next slide, please. And again, we have another very talented student of Sufi, Kupachar, and these are his line drawings, and these were used for the inlay works of Mysore, which Mysore is very famous. And we stop here.
We'll hang at the slide.
Yes.
Yes, we'll hang at the slide. This is like being on a very heady journey. You can never tire of listening to these fascinating, incredible stories that come from very authentic sources, dear friends. So, but I'll have to return to Hyderabad now from Mysore. So it's quite a journey. Moupia, I come back to you in asking, in writing a woman who's largely been silenced or mythologized by dominant historical narratives or the erasures, how did you navigate the responsibility of giving her voice through your writing without appropriating the narrative? How did you do it?
Okay, so I primarily relied on a lot of primary sources, as well as secondary sources and the debate that's been raging for 400 years now. All the primary sources have mentioned Bhagmati. And I would say that what kind of a love story was this that gave rise to an entirely new city, which brought together, which was a kind of a confluence of it was interreligious, intercultural, it is a tapestry of all kinds of cultures. Trade was at its peak during Muhammad Quli Shah's regime, so people were coming from all over the world, and as you know, the Golconda region was very well known for its diamonds and precious gems. So it was such a throbbing and thriving city. And Muhammad Quli had envisioned this city, he writes in one of his verses, that make my city as full of people as there are fish in the water. He never thought of his subjects as, okay, this is a Hindu, these are Hindus or these are Muslims, and I will only patronize and take care of my Muslim subjects, because he was brought up largely by his mother, so the influence of Hindu is a lot there in him. In fact, his verses also reflect a lot of Hindu tradition. The Bhakti tradition, he has mentioned a lot of verses written them in the Bhakti tradition. So the reason I feel what got me thinking and what helped me form my opinion about Bhagmati's existence was the fact that it was not so much religion which gave rise to this kind of a which resulted in the erasure of Bhagmati by Muhammad Quli's coterie of ministers at that point, who were primarily
I really
Persians.
want to ask at this point that did you notice any evident erasures? At which point Bhagmati disappears from records.
Bhagmati
you said you did a
disappears-
lot of research.
No, Bhagmati, actually the city Bhagnagar was, the contemporary travelers have mentioned the city as Bhagnagar. So
No,
for a
I'm
good
talking about the
100
historical records. When you went on your research,
No, there is no historical record of Bhagmati, not whatsoever. But in there are a lot of veiled references to her, so that you'll have to read the book in order to know what those references are. We don't have the time to go through all that. But the point is that what Muhammad Quli envisioned is today very much still prevalent. So that is what helped me, in understanding his vision and the fact that obviously Bhagmati played a very, very important role in his vision to have a city which was multicultural, multi-religious, different kinds of people got together, and the cultural tapestry today is sort of binds the people of Hyderabad together more than religion. I mean, I feel the contribution of Bhagmati, and I do not agree with the modern historians who believe that, Bhagmati was not there. So there are two very distinct schools of thought there, schools of battle, actually, I would say, who have contested the existence of Bhagmati. So Bhagmati is, I would say, the cause of the establishment of the city of this thing, but it is also known that Hyderabad was, this is one of the theories, or probably this is what the historical fact is, that Hyderabad was named after Hyder Ali, the Prophet's son-in-law. This is what the court or Muhammad Quli's, establishment, his ministers, they wanted. They put forward this theory that it is named after Hyder Ali and got nothing to do with Bhagmati.
correct. Thank you so much, Moupia. We are on time travel here, really.
I would
we
like to add just
now,
one more
and
point here.
Yeah.
Just 2 minutes, bear with me, Preethi. Bhagmati was not erased so much for her religion, but for her origin as a low-born lady.
Which
Today,
is a Devdasi. she?
There is a little bit of, obscurity regarding her origins. Some say she was a Devdasi who danced at the Nageshwara temple close by. Some say she was a Bhogamvar. She was from the Bhogamvar or the Arundhitya class. Some say she was a Banjara. So there are a whole lot of things. But whatever it is certain that she was not of high caste. So even today, when I was doing my research, I came across a person who told me, first he wanted to know what my agenda was in knowing about Bhagmati. Then he said that even today we will not accept Bhagmati as a queen because she is low-born.
Wow. We are on time travel. We just started talking and it's already time is running out. Suresh, I want to come back to you on this. You particularly mentioned this. This is something that you tie with Lalbagh and the Tiglas as a community, the socio-cultural aspect that you bring in. I would like to engage you to reveal more about this aspect that you bring in. What is the community and what is its connection with Lalbagh?
So a fascinating thing, can we have change of slides? So in Bangalore, the most significant festival is the Karaga Jatre. Some of you know about it, but it's interesting that the Tigala communities, who are farmers, gardeners, and marketeers of horticultural produce, are very significant in many ways because they were gotten by Hyder Ali from the larger Karnataka and were responsible for the gardens initially. But even now today, if you see Siddhapura, Lalbagh Siddhapura, the largest number of the Tigala populations live there. So the Tiglas play a very, very significant role in this idea of the garden city, but their memories are lost. To the slides, can you go back to the previous slide, please? Yeah. Here are slides by Cheluvaiya Raju, again lost in history, but there are 3,000 drawings of Cheluvaiya Raju in the hidden archives of Lalbagh. And these are another find which, through the research that have come to my hands, and they're part of the book. Next. And the Tiglas have this Karaga Jatre, which again begins in Cubbon Park area and goes around the earlier idea of the fort or the kote area. Yeah. So this is what is it. These are the apples that I was talking about, again drawn by Cheluvaiya Raju. And here is the new find. As you can already read that somebody started growing apples as recent as ever. And so there is a possibility of this fascination for the exotic that was part of Lalbagh's agenda.
Is that why we see a flourishing floriculture as well around Bangalore? Because
Yes,
it's already there in the soil.
It's there because of the verdant soil, but also the rainfall, and everybody envies Bangalore because they say that you throw something, it starts growing. And I don't know, I think many of you agree, but it's also how it's got a climate that's conducive for growth. This is the proof of it. Lalbagh, Cubbon Park, the nurseries are the proof of it.
I completely agree with you. No matter how much people living in Bangalore say things about Bangalore, I still think that city creates and nurtures and grows and, gives livelihoods, and we can still complain about, things that don't move, but Bangalore keeps moving through time. RG Singh, I come back to you. And the museum, the story that we continue, your tribute.
We just have a couple of minutes.
Yes.
We'll run through the slides very fast. We have Nanjun Swami here, who was a product of the Chamraja Technical Institute, student of Keshvaya, and he went to the JJ School of Art. Next slide, please. This is
These are all paintings that are in your collection, is that
some
right?
of them in my collection. Yes. This is in our collection. And we have Shilpi Siddhanti Siddhalinga Swami, who was the Pithadipati of the Nagalinga Swami Mutt, and also the person who was responsible to initiate the last Maharaja into the Srividya cult. And he was cousin of Nanjunda Swami, whom you saw earlier. We continue with Nagendra Stapati, son of Nanjunda Swami, alumnus of CTI, again a JJ School of Art student. And then he was the person who completed the Kamakameshwari temple on Ramanuja Road, started by his father. We have Subhashini Devi, who was the student of Siddhalinga Swami. Next slide, please. We have this beautiful collage of artists from one particular family, the Raju family. And we move on to the next slide because I can't explain more. This is one Shankar Raju, who was son of Sundaraya, the earlier slide what you saw. Sundaraya. He is one among the 7 artists. This is Y. Nagaraju, son of Yallaya, another court artist. Yallaya's brother, Yallaya's other son, Subramanya Raju, who was at CTI. And then we have a father-in-law, son-in-law pair of S.R. Iyengar, court artist, and his son-in-law H.S. Pathak.
Can we keep,
Yes.
sorry, but can we keep the slides running so that the audience get to see the best of the collection that RG Singh has brought? What a proud moment this is.
This is a husband-wife pair of Raghutam Putti and his wife. And this is Mukta Venkatesh, who lived to be 103 years. She learned painting at London. And this is her daughter, Girja Madhavan, and the saga continues. Among the whole slides, she's the only living person.
So I think we have, this is a little abrupt. I am still feeling a little dazed about how to end this session, but the only valid reason can be time's up. So what a lovely session we had, 45 minutes of pure history, proud history, authentic history, and blended with literature and painting, photography, love for art. This is what humanities is all about, guys. I mean, if any of you think, what is art going to do? This is what is art is doing for all of us. Art is documenting the world. So we come to the end of this. RG Singh's museum is also open for visitors with pre-appointment. Suresh's book is available.
Not available.
Sorry? Not available on sale. Sorry, not available. But you can ask, you can hound Suresh and ask him where
I
you
don't
can
have
find
any
it.
copies. Copies are sold out. We might have a next edition. Probably, I'll let you all know. But unfortunately, it's not available.
Oh, and in his book, I must mention, I had the fortune of having one copy, thanks to the panel. Light is the hero in that book. What lovely pictures that has. You must get it for the love of any city. That's so beautiful. Moupia, thank you. Suresh and RG Singh, thank you. Thanks to Mysore Lit Fest organizers for putting this amazing panel together. And see you all again in the next session and also next year, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.